everyone, and welcome. You're watching Eagle News America. I'm Alan Basoyahe coming to you from Los Angeles, California. It's October 29, 2020. Tonight, we have updates from several of our correspondents across North America. I'm Lynn Ramos in Washington, D.C.
Last push for the Trump and Biden presidential campaign.
Chai Masaka in Waldorf, Maryland.
Governor Hogan announces $10 million funding to help thousands of Maryland farmers.
Carla Valdez in Union Township reports about New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy signing a bill to reduce sentences in the prison system to help flatten the coronavirus curve. Anna Cui in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Trump re-election campaign files a second lawsuit in Nevada.
Mylene Cusho in North Hills, California.
More than 2 million voters have cast ballots in Los Angeles.
Macy Membrere in Sacramento, California reports about California voters being eligible for paid time off to vote and Oakland Coliseum to open as an official vote center. For today's business news, Bobby Soriano in New York reports about U.S. GDP seeing rapid recovery in the third quarter, United to begin its pre-flight rapid COVID-19 testing, Tiffany and LVMH agreeing on a deal, and today's big tech earnings. Plus, Ninita Manawis will take us to one of Oklahoma's largest waterfalls. And for tonight's virtual roundtable discussion, we get to talk about practical skills we wish we had. Our coverage begins now. First, an overview of how COVID-19 looks right now. According to the Coronavirus Resource Center of Johns Hopkins University and Medicine, as of 3 p.m. Eastern Time Thursday, October 29, 2020, the number of cases of COVID-19 reported worldwide is now more than 44,800,000. Top three on the list of countries with recorded cases are the U.S. with 8.9 million, India with 8 million, and Brazil with 5.4 million. Sadly, more than 1,177,000 lives worldwide have succumbed to this virus. And the top three countries with the most number of COVID-19 related deaths are, once again, the US at more than 228,000, Brazil at more than 158,000, and India at more than 120,000. The United Nations said today global temperatures boosted by climate change will still be higher than usual, despite the cooling effect of a moderate to strong La Nina weather phenomenon. The World Meteorological Organization, or WMO, said La Nina has developed and is expected to last into next year, affecting temperatures, precipitation, and storm patterns in many parts of the world. Take a look.
There is a high on the order of 90% probability of this condition continuing through January, and it is also very likely to remain moderate to strong in strength, meaning sea surface temperatures cooler than average on the order of 2 to 3 degrees Celsius during that time period.
The agency said it could also be contributing to an unusually active hurricane season. La Nina is considered the stormy sister of El Nino, which occurs every 2 to 7 years when the prevailing trade winds that circulate surface water in the tropical Pacific start to weaken.
When we have a La Nina, there are parts of the world that become drier than they normally would be or wetter than they normally would be. And we went through the map. I won't go through it again, but you saw the pictures for yourself. And when this happens, as you rightly said, and as I also mentioned, it has impacts on many sectors. It has impacts on agriculture, as you mentioned, but also other sectors that are very important for society.
El Nino, which has a major influence on weather and climate patterns and associated hazards such as heavy rains, floods, drought, has a warming influence on global temperatures, whilst La Nina tends to have the opposite effect.
In fact, there is a connection between El Nino and La Nina and hurricane frequency. El Nino tends to suppress hurricanes and La Nina tends to sort of encourage them. So if we do have a strong hurricane season, the La Nina could be contributing to that.
But WMO Chief Terithalis warned in a statement global warming could worsen or distort the effects of such phenomena. Meanwhile, The Spanish parliament on Thursday approved the extension for 6 months of a state of emergency declared to fight a surge in coronavirus infections. Prime Minister Sanchez's minority leftist government on Sunday declared an initial 15-day state of emergency, and the extension approved by lawmakers means it will now run until May 9. Under the state of emergency, Spain's 17 regional governments, which are in charge of health, can impose measures to restrict people's mobility, such as nighttime curfews and closing their borders. This is the second time that Spain has declared a national state of emergency since the start of the pandemic. The first was put in place in mid-March, and it lasted until the end of June. It was used to enforce a strict lockdown, with people allowed outside only to go to work, seek medical care, or buy food. The government has said it wants to avoid another lockdown. Since exiting the first lockdown in June, coronavirus cases in Spain have soared, with thousands of infections diagnosed every day. Hospitalizations, though lower than their March-April peak, are also on the rise. Spain last week became the first European Union nation to surpass 1 million confirmed COVID-19 infections, with the virus claiming more than 35,000 lives. In Russia, President Vladimir Putin says there are no plans to introduce a nationwide lockdown in Russia, as the country set a record for new coronavirus infections, and a critical situation was reported in the regions. Take a look.
Как нужно действовать, и поэтому не планируем вводить тотальные ограничительные меры, запускать так называемый общенациональный локдаун, когда экономика, работа бизнеса фактически, подчеркну, несмотря на сложную эпидемиологическую обстановку, мы сейчас готовы к работе в условиях эпидемии гораздо лучше.
One last push for President Trump and Democratic presidential hopeful former Vice President Joe Biden till Election Day this Tuesday, November 3. In Washington, Emeline Ramos has the latest.
Thank you, Alan. With just a few days left before the presidential election, former Vice President Joe Biden and President Donald J. Trump intensify their final push to reach out to voters. Today, both candidates were in toss-up state of Florida. Both candidates converged in Tampa, which is Florida's second largest city, in a bid to lock up the battleground state's 29 electoral college votes. Interesting to note that President Trump defeated Hillary Clinton in Florida in 2016, but today polls give Biden a sizable lead over Trump. Biden is to hold 2 rallies today in Florida, one in Broward County and, as I mentioned earlier, in Tampa. President Trump was to hold a rally in the parking lot of the Raymond James Stadium, home of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Trump is then scheduled to fly to Fort Bragg, North Carolina, where he would meet troops and finish the day with a campaign rally in Fayetteville, North Carolina. For President Donald Trump, he has been hitting the campaign trail with a vengeance. On Tuesday, he held rallies in Michigan, Wisconsin, and Nebraska. President Trump carried these states in 2016, but the Real Clear Politics average shows him behind at least 5 points in each state. The president's message was about the record third quarter growth figures as a sign that the virus-battered U.S. economy is getting back on track. After the worst downturn on record, the U.S. economy posted a jaw-dropping annual rate of growth of 33.1% in the third quarter. Despite the enthusiasm of Trump, economists warned that the rebound in July-September period, after the 31.4% drop in the second quarter, was driven by consumer spending supported by a massive $3 trillion in government aid, much of which has since expired. In response, the Biden campaign said, quote, "With today's report, we are still on track to have the worst economic downturn in more than 70 years. We are in a deep hole, and President Trump's failure to act has meant that third quarter growth wasn't nearly enough to get us out of it." Joe Biden leads the president in the polls with less than a week to go. With the debates over, tens of millions have already cast their ballots. After next week, we should know who our president will be for the next 4 years. In Washington, D.C., I'm Emeline Ramos, Eagle News. We live in interesting times. Back to you, Alan.
Iowa, with most polls giving Joe Biden the advantage, and in some cases a decisive advantage, does Trump still have a potential path to victory on November 3rd?
Well, yes, Alan. Although Biden is leading in the polls, the president does have several potential routes to victory on November 3rd. Two states that are crucial to his path to victory would probably be the battleground states of Florida and Pennsylvania. According to the polls and pundits, Trump is virtually assured of winning at least 163 electoral votes, and Biden looks poised to scoop up at least 260 electoral college votes. Well, remember, the winner needs 270 electoral college votes. According to Capri Cafaro, who is a former Democratic member of the Ohio State Senate, if President Donald Trump wins all the states he won last time, with the exception of Wisconsin and Michigan, but is able to maintain Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Arizona, and Florida, Trump can get to 270. Alan?
Okay. All right. And can you clarify, Imelin, is there a state that's a must-win for Donald Trump?
I would say Pennsylvania, because, without Pennsylvania, it will be difficult to get enough electoral college votes. And that's why President Trump just held 3 campaign rallies this past Monday in Pennsylvania. The Biden campaign has also devoted time and resources to Pennsylvania. And so at this point, it's still in play. Alan?
We're really looking forward to speaking a little bit later about some practical skills that we wish we had. Have you already thought of one? Can you give us a hint, or are you still working on it?
I know how to type fast.
Oh, okay. Well, I can't wait to hear. But take it slowly when we have our discussion.
Okay.
Imelin, thank you so much for your report.
Thank you, Alan.
When we come back, updates from our Eagle News correspondents in Waldorf, Maryland, Union Township, New Jersey, and Las Vegas, Nevada. This is Eagle News America. Just stay with us.
It says the best defense is still containment.
We are in uncharted territory.
Final volume 450. FI mo to 100%. Standing by. Construction eh.
Till I find my heroes will come waiting. Ikaw pa nga ang hinahanap ng puso, ang siyang magbibigay ng saya, ng tamis at lambing. I can't wait.
You're watching Eagle News America. I'm Alan Bosco Yahe in Los Angeles. Maryland Governor Larry Hogan announces $10 million in funding to benefit farmers in the state. In Waldorf, Chai Masaga has the story.
Thank you, Alan. Good news for Maryland farmers. A relief program to help the state's farmers, growers, and producers impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic is underway. After a roundtable discussion with farmers and agriculture officials, Governor Larry Hogan announced a $10 million funding to help thousands of Maryland farmers. The program, dubbed as Maryland Farmers COVID-19 Relief Program, is aimed at giving critical financial support to farmers, producers, and poultry growers who did not receive federal relief funds. Under the program, contract poultry growers, the top agricultural commodity of Maryland, who were not eligible under the Coronavirus Food Assistance Program, or CFAP, will receive direct payment of $1,000 per poultry house with a maximum of 5 houses per farm, while growers whose flocks were depopulated during the pandemic will receive an additional $1,500 per house, with no cap on the number of poultry houses. Maryland farmers, meanwhile, who received payments under the CFAP during its first rounds of payments will be entitled to a 15% bonus payment. The Coronavirus Food Assistance Program extends assistance to producers of agricultural commodity who suffered price decline of 5% or more, or those who have had losses because of any chain disruptions in market supply or may still face significant losses as a result of the pandemic. CFAP covers commodities such as aquaculture, livestock, small grains, and other specialty crops. Nearly $24 million have already been distributed by the state of Maryland to producers during the CFAP's first round of payments and more than $16 million in its second round. Meanwhile, Alan, Maryland has just entered into an agreement with the neighboring states of Virginia and North Carolina to expand offshore wind projects and to promote the Southeast and Mid-Atlantic United States as a hub for offshore wind energy and industry. The collaboration saw the creation of the Southeast and Mid-Atlantic Regional Transformative Partnership for Offshore Wind Energy Resources, or SMART Power. The bipartisan partnership provides a structure for Maryland, Virginia, and North Carolina to promote, develop, and expand offshore wind energy and the accompanying industry supply chain and workforce. Maryland Governor Larry Hogan said that joining this multi-state partnership to expand offshore wind development will further the state's strong record of supporting responsible energy projects that provide jobs, clean air benefits, and energy independence. In Waldorf, Maryland, Chai Masaga, Eagle News.
Chai, I really enjoyed that report, and because of it, I want you to put on your farmer's hat or your farmer's overall, and if you were a farmer, wondering what kind of crop or agricultural commodity you would choose to grow to produce.
Well, Alan, ever since I was a child, I dreamt of having an orchard, and back in the Philippines, I dreamt of having an mango orchard. Philippine mangoes, I would say, it's one of the best fruits there is. Would you agree, Alan? I'm not sure.
I certainly do.
I'm not sure if you have tasted those mangoes from the Philippines, but yes, I would love to have a mango orchard. And wouldn't it be nice, Alan, for you to have your own plantation of your favorite fruit? And then when it's in season, it's just there for the taking. And I would have my fill of sweet, succulent, and juicy mangoes. And of course, enjoy the profit that it would bring in, Alan.
I couldn't agree with you more. Just stepping out of your own door and going to maybe your backyard and grabbing some fresh fruits and vegetables would be wonderful. Now, at the end of near the end of our broadcast, we do have a discussion about practical skills. We're wondering, does your practical skills have anything to do with cultivating the land, or is it kind of far from it?
None at all, Alan. Far from it. Far from
wow.
it.
Okay. Well, you've certainly intrigued us. Thank you for your report, Chai.
Thank you, Alan.
New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy signs a bill, the first of its kind, reducing sentences in the prison system to help flatten the coronavirus curve in the state. Bureau Chief Carlo Valdez with the details.
Thanks, Alan. With New Jersey prisons having the highest death rate in the nation, earlier in the month, New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy signed a bill, S2519, which is the first of its kind in the nation, in reducing sentences in the prison system. Now, we all know that New Jersey has been one of the hardest hit with the COVID-19 virus, and this is one of its ways of flattening the curve. The prisoners that are eligible to be released are adult and juvenile, with a year or less left on their sentences, and who were in prison during the pandemic. The law will remove up to 8 months of the prisoner's time. The ones that are not eligible are those who have been convicted of murder, aggravated sexual assault, and repetitive compulsive sex offenders. This law does not apply to the prisoners in the federal prisons or county jails. This law will take place several days after Election Day, November 4, and more than 2,000 prisoners are expected to be released, and about 1,000 more will be freed throughout January. And as for coronavirus stats and numbers, New Jersey reports of 1,477 new positive COVID-19 cases, pushing the total to 234,547. Sadly, New Jersey is reporting 8 new COVID-19 deaths, pushing the total to 14,539 lives lost. In Union Township, New Jersey, Carlo Valdez, Eagle News. We live in interesting times. Back to you, Alan.
It's incredible how the coronavirus has impacted society in every sector, including the prison system. Thank you for that report, Carlo. And now turning our attention back to election news. President Trump's campaign files another election lawsuit in the state of Nevada. In Las Vegas, Bureau Chief Anna Cui gives us the details.
Thank you, Alan. That's correct. The Nevada Republican Party and President Donald Trump's re-election campaign have filed a second election lawsuit against Clark County and Clark County Registrar Joe Gloria, seeking detailed records related to the county's plan for processing ballots cast in the 2020 election. This comes the day before the scheduled hearing over the first lawsuit that was filed last week, but no ruling was issued at the end of the hearing on Wednesday, which was yesterday. Now, attorneys for the Trump campaign and state Republican Party argued in the first lawsuit that the county's signature verification process for mail-in ballots was lacking and that observers were not given ample opportunities to view or challenge the work of election workers. So far, approximately 30% of the mail ballot return envelopes have been accepted through an automated process using a ballot packet sorting machine, according to a statement released by Dan Cullen, who is the Clark County spokesperson, meaning 70% of those received have gone on to the manual signature verification process. He further states that this system is used in many other jurisdictions, and there's a wide range in the settings used by others. Clark County actually ran tests of this system and determined that a score of 40, which is different from what is mentioned in the lawsuit. The lawsuit mentions that it's a percentage. It's actually a score, and it's a score of 40 that would accept all the signatures that are obvious matches. Signatures that don't match that score are reviewed and are handled manually, and some could be rejected. The score is determined by, comparing the writing style, the slant of the letters, and how someone crosses their T's. Now, in regards to the observers not being given enough opportunity to view the election workers, Cullen states that the Clark County Election Department has gone above and beyond to provide access to observers. They've even created more observation areas in addition to other locations as required by law. this gives them more opportunity to actually, view the election workers as they go through, their processes. Now, the lawsuit, have many allegations, but I will just speak of one more before I let you go, Alan. And this is the one that they make specific claims about the call center room. But as per QLIN, there are no ballots brought to this room. This is actually where the election department staff are answering calls from voters who need to cure their ballot. So curing is the process done when a voter does not either forget to sign the envelope or the signature does not match what they have on file. So this means that the staff may be discussing personal information in this room, such as date of birth and the last four numbers of their social security number, with the voter on the phone. So legally they have to protect the public from being able to collect those personal information. And speaking of mail-in ballots, as of 9:45 a.m. Pacific Standard Time today, over 482,000 ballots have been returned, 3,490 of which are needing signature cures. And to date, 2,913 mail ballots have been successfully cured. In Las Vegas and Anahui, Eagle News, we live in interesting times. Back to you, Alan.
On a personal note, we heard that the last day for early voting there in Nevada is October 30. Have you been able to make it to the polls yet?
Yes, that's tomorrow, Alan. And as usual, I wait till last minute. I don't want to go out on election day. And to be honest, I have not, made up my mind completely. Depending on how my day goes tomorrow, I may go out and go to one of the polling polls or just drop my ballot in the mail. Alan?
Well, we certainly have a lot of options. And, we are going to speak a little bit later about practical skills. Can you give us just a quick hint of what yours might be?
I can't think of any right now, Alan. I'll have to get back to you later.
All right. Well, my practical skill might be mind reading, so I could help you with your response. But we can't wait to hear from you. Thank you for your report, Anna.
Thanks, Alan.
When we come back, updates from our Eagle News correspondents in North Hills and Sacramento, California, and business news with Bobby Soriano in New York. This is Eagle News America. Stay with us.
Tissue boxes mo. Hindi mo ba alam, mauubos daw ang mga tissue products? Bakit naman? Ang raw materials daw ng mask at tissue products ay iisa lang. Saan naman galing ang balitang yan? Ay basta, narinig ko lang din. Maraming diling kayang nagpo-post sa Facebook at Twitter, kaya kung ako sa'yo, kumuha ka na din. Sige na't mauna na ako sa'yo
Huwag basta-basta magpaniwala
sa mga nakikita
o nababasa sa social media.
Magsaliksik at i-verify ang lahat ng impormasyon
nakukuha sa internet.
Tandaan,
maging responsable tayo
sa paggamit ng social media
nang hindi magdulot ng panic sa iba.
Kung paanong dapat labanan ng COVID-19
ay gayon din ang ating pagsugpo
sa black propaganda
at maling impormasyon.
Dennis Lu,
Lou Omelda,
Vivian Alpartosa,
Tyranel Pililu,
Hannibal Arevalo,
EBC,
Japan, Euro. We live in interesting times. Ikaw ang superstar.
This is Eagle News America. I'm Alan Basoyahe in Los Angeles. 5 days prior to the November 3 presidential election, 2 million voters in Los Angeles have already cast their ballots. In North Hills, Eagle News correspondent Mylene Cusio has the details.
Thank you, Alan. More than 2 million Los Angeles County registered voters have cast their ballots either by mail or in person. According to the Los Angeles County Register or County Clerk, there are 1,990,521 vote-by-mail ballots received either through postal mail or dropped off at a vote center and official ballot boxes, plus 121,000 ballots from early in-person voting from this past weekend to present. This pushes the county to over 2 million voting ballots with 5 more days to go. County officials are making voting very simple and secure for residents, but at the same time, fun for everyone voting. Besides receiving small stickers that say, "I voted," after casting their ballots, registered voters can also take a memorable selfie at selected vote centers showcasing a giant "I voted" sticker. And the Los Angeles County Public Works announced today that all county transit services are free to all residents from this Friday, October 30, through Tuesday, November 3, to encourage and support voters. With so many statewide propositions on the ballot, voters may be overwhelmed on how they should vote and decide. The California Secretary of State advises to read and review the voter information guide, which contains unbiased information on both the for and against arguments for each proposition. As for the COVID-19 update here in Los Angeles, the County Department of Public Health tweeted today, "We are seeing an increase in daily cases coinciding with reopening of several sectors and gatherings associated with watching sports and celebrating the Lakers and Dodgers at victories. At these gatherings, people were without distancing or face coverings, transmitting COVID-19. This increase is a cause for concern. In order to keep moving down our road to recovery, we need to reduce our community transmission, and we need our residents to do their part." So when you go out there to vote to the vote centers this next several days until Election Day, Los Angeles voters must remember to adhere to the safety precautionary measures of wearing their face coverings at all times and maintaining the 6 feet physical distancing requirement. In North Hills, California, Mylene Cusio, Eagle News, we live in interesting times. Back to you, Alan.
Oh, selfies when you take a vote. Why am I not surprised? Now, Mylene, some voters, they might be worried that even if they do show up in person at the polls, their ballot might, somehow be tampered with. How really secure is the collection and processing of these voter ballots?
Well, Alan, once a voter finishes filling out their ballot, they will drop it off in a ballot reader, which is basically a collection box. The polls close at 8 p.m., at which point ballots are sealed and brought to the check-in center. From there, LA County Sheriff deputies mobilize. They pick up the ballots and deliver them to the Los Angeles County Register County Clerk in Norwalk, where they will be examined and tallied. So from start to finish, the voting process is pretty secure, Alan.
Well, that's certainly encouraging to hear. And now, Mylene, talking about our roundtable discussion, can you give us just a quick hint of what your practical skill might be that you'll offer to us later?
I'll give you a hint. It's eye-catching.
Oh, well, I'll make sure to have my eyelids peeled for what you're going to bring to us. Thank you so much, Marlene, for your report.
Oh, sure. You're welcome.
California voters will be granted eligibility for paid time off in order to cast their votes. And in response to accommodating voters while observing social distancing due to the pandemic, the Oakland Coliseum will be used as an official vote center. For these stories, Macy Membrere in Sacramento files this report.
Thank you. Now, Election Day fast approaches, and for many individuals working, finding time outside work hours to vote may be difficult. As a solution to this, in California, all employees are eligible for up to 2 hours of paid time off to go vote. Just inquire with your employer. Also, as a voter, did you know that you have certain rights? For example, if you're a registered voter but your name is not on the list, you can still vote using a provisional ballot. Here is a short video on that, as well as other voter rights.
You have the right to vote if you are a registered voter, even if your name is not on the list. You will vote using a provisional ballot. Your vote will be counted if elections officials determine that you are eligible to vote. You have the right to vote if you are still in line when the polls close, and the right to cast a secret ballot without anyone bothering you or telling you how to vote. If you have not already cast your ballot, you can get a new ballot if you have made a mistake. Ask an elections official at a polling place for a new ballot, or exchange your vote-by-mail ballot for a new one at an elections office or at your polling place, or vote using a provisional ballot. You have the right to get help casting your ballot from anyone you choose, except from your employer or union representative. If you vote by mail, you can drop off your completed vote-by-mail ballot at any polling place in California. You have the right to get election materials in a language other than English if enough people in your voting precincts speak that language, and the right to ask questions to elections officials about election procedures and watch the election process. You have the right to report any illegal or fraudulent election activity to an elections official or the Secretary of State's office. If you believe you've been denied any of these rights, call the Secretary of State's confidential toll-free voter hotline at 800-345-VOTE.
Now, as we continue to get closer to election, more and more places are opening up as official vote centers. One in particular is a familiar place to some sports fans. Here's Alex Padilla, the California Secretary of State, for more information.
Hi, I'm Alex Padilla, California Secretary of State, and I'm thrilled to join the Oakland Athletics, the Oakland Coliseum officials, and the Alameda County Registrar of Voters in this exciting announcement. That's right, the Oakland Coliseum will serve as a vote center this election for all Alameda County voters. Any voter can come to the Oakland Coliseum to drop off their mail-in ballot or to vote in person. Even register to vote and vote same day, even if you missed last week's voter registration deadline.
Lastly, millions of Americans have already turned in their ballots, but here are some reminders for those who have yet to vote.
More than 7.5 million voters in California have already returned their ballots. So if you've already done so, thank you, thank you, thank you. If you haven't, I want to encourage you to return your ballot as soon as possible. Have multiple safe options for how to return your ballot, either by mail. Remember, you don't need stamps. Return postage is prepaid. You can return your ballot to any official ballot drop box in the county convenient to you, or you can drop it off in person at any vote center, including the Oakland Coliseum. To find a convenient ballot drop box or a convenient vote center near you, go to vote.ca.gov.
In Sacramento, California, Macy Membrere, Eagle News. We live in interesting times.
For tonight's business news, Bobby Soriano in New York reports. Bobby.
Good evening. U.S. markets have closed. Here are your latest business headlines. Economic numbers were released today, showing a sharp recovery from the start of the pandemic. In particular, U.S. gross domestic product levels increased 7.4% over the prior quarter, or 33.1% at an annualized rate, signifying almost two-thirds recovery of all the GDP loss due to the pandemic. However, the economy is not out of the woods yet, as GDP levels are still several percentage points below pre-pandemic levels, and a second wave of COVID lockdowns would seriously hamper any further recovery for the next quarter. United Airlines announced that it will begin a pilot program to perform rapid COVID-19 testing during pre-boarding procedures. The program will begin next month for certain flights leaving from Newark Liberty International Airport in New Jersey to London Heathrow Airport between November 11th and December 11th. Everyone boarding the flight will be required to undergo testing using the rapid molecular Abbott ID Now COVID-19 test, which produces results in only a few minutes. Those who test positive will be isolated and asked to contact their health provider, with the airline providing assistance to reschedule their flight. Persons who do not want to take the test will be moved to another flight. Passengers will still be required to wear masks during the flight, but United's goal for the program is to convince government officials that rapid testing in combination with social distancing measures could eliminate the need for travelers to quarantine for 14 days upon reaching their destination. Tiffany and LVMH have appeared to finally settle their year-long dispute today, with Tiffany agreeing to a buyout by LVMH at a reduced share price. LVMH will acquire the luxury brand for $15.8 billion, or $131.50 a share, down from the original $135 per share price. This works out to LVMH saving $425 million from the original deal price. LVMH, whose revenue comes primarily in Louis Vuitton apparel and handbags, hopes that the buyout of Tiffany will allow it to increase its presence in the lucrative luxury jewelry market. For earnings today, it was Big Tech's turn to announce the state of their companies. Google's parent company Alphabet saw earnings rise sharply in the third quarter due to an increase in digital ad revenue. Amazon also easily beat analysts' expectations as it saw its quarterly sales rise due to continued strong trends in online ordering. Facebook also posted better than expected earnings on strong ad revenue and further announced expectations for a strong fourth quarter. Twitter only slightly beat earnings expectations, and investors were concerned with low user growth numbers. Lastly, Apple, despite beating analyst expectations in earnings and revenue, saw its share price drop in after-hours trading due to less than expected iPhone sales and an announcement by CEO Tim Cook that there would be no guidance for the fourth quarter due to the uncertainty surrounding the pandemic. U.S. indices closed in the green today, slightly rebounding from yesterday's drop, but still remaining near monthly lows. Reporting from New York, Bobby Soriano, Eagle News, we live in interesting times.
When we come back, a trip to one of Oklahoma's largest falls. Plus, our virtual roundtable discussion about what practical skill would benefit us the most. This is Eagle News America. Stay with us.
Turuan din natin ang mga bata ng tamang paghugas ng mga kamay. Basain ang kamay ng tubig at lagyan ng sabon. Kuskusin ang iyong mga palad. Gayon din ang pagitan ng mga daliri. Pati na ang likod ng mga palad at daliri. Ganon din ang iyong hinlalaki, kasama ang mga dulo ng iyong mga daliri. Pagkatapos ay iyong palapulsuhan. Gawin ito ng kahit 20 segundo. Pagkatapos ay banlawan ng tubig at patuyuin.
Innovation, digital disruption, globalization. Startups, micro, small, and medium enterprises, as well as large corporations, all face interesting challenges in the more vibrant environment for entrepreneurship.
You're watching Eagle News America. I'm Alan Basilyahe in Los Angeles. Tonight, as we head into the weekend, Eagle News correspondent Anita Manaus will take us to the breathtaking Turner Falls in Oklahoma for a beautiful and breathtaking view. Take a look.
You are here at Turner Falls, one of Oklahoma's largest waterfalls. Looking for a natural place to cool off? Turner Falls Park in Davis, Oklahoma is a popular destination for tourists who enjoy nature and swimming. One of the highlights of the park is the clear water flowing into several creeks and pools, creating a natural watery playground. But the crown jewel of the park is the scenic 77-foot waterfall, which drops into a natural pool, a favorite swimming hole for both locals and out-of-towners. On May 11, 2020, Oklahoma ended its quarantine requirement for out-of-state travelers. The Oklahoma State Department of Health, however, encourages visitors to continue following the CDC guidelines. According to the Oklahoma Tourism and Recreation Department, thousands of visitors travel to Turner Falls Park each year to enjoy not only swimming, but also hiking its nature trails, visiting its caves, and camping. The park has RV and tent campgrounds available, as well as privately owned rental cabins. Please note that pets are not allowed, and children under 12 must have a certified flotation device. With its location amidst the Arbuckle Mountains, one of the most ancient mountains on Earth, visiting Turner Falls Park is like seeing through a geological window into the Earth's past. In Turner Falls Park in Davis, Oklahoma, I'm Anita Manaus, Eagle News. We live in interesting times.
That was certainly a beautiful waterfall scene behind you. Thank you, Ninita. And now we reach that time of our broadcast to have a little discussion with some of our Eagle News correspondents. And for tonight's roundtable discussion, we're going to go ahead and talk about practical skills we wish you had. Tonight on the team, we have Imelin, Anna, Mylene, and Shai. Welcome, ladies, to the discussion. And I'm just going to pick one of you in complete random order. Let's go with Chai. Chai, what do you have for us?
That's a random order, Alan. Okay. So, well, one practical skill I really want to develop, it's speed reading. I mean, I love to read, but just like you, Alan, I'm busy. But as much as I can, I try to squeeze in reading in my busy schedule. But I want to be able to read more books. So I really wish I could develop that skill, Alan, that speed reading, so I could read more books. Just like this blogger I read regularly. She's able to read like 20 to 25 books in a month. So I'm not trying to be like her, but at least I want to improve my readings, my speed reading. Alan.
And with all humor aside, Chai, the one thing that I would be afraid of is I might be a fast reader, but would I be able to retain or really understand what I'm reading? Do you think there would also need to be a skill in like totally absorbing the material that you're reading?
Well, you should like or love what you're reading. That's for me. I should be reading the books that I really like. Well, I love reading fiction, so that's why I want to develop this skill precisely to be able to read more, novels and fiction. So I think that's not a problem for me, Alan. I'll be able to absorb what I'm reading.
Well, yeah, I think we all need to read a little bit more. As a society, we do need to read a lot more. Thanks, Chai, for that practical skill, which really is very practical. Let's move on to Mylene. Mylene, you gave us a hint. You said you gotta keep my eyelids peeled. What practical skill do you wish you had?
Well, I currently think I have video filming skills, but I would like to improve upon them. I use filming a lot because I film my children and my family when we go on vacations. I use the skills of filming my helpful camera, of course. And I actually use it not only for family vacations, but also for documenting history, whether it be family history or just a public history. You know, just taking pictures of people out there. But yeah, it's a skill that I think I have.
And I have seen you behind the camera. I know you're working really hard at that. For some people, skills or hobbies can only go as far as their budget can afford. When it comes to picking up the skill of being a camera operator, it can get quite expensive. Are you ready to dish out the kind of money needed for a skill or hobby like that?
Not at the moment. I'm still using my amateur camera. It's taken me a long way. So I'm trying to get, when I have improved my skills in video filming or just taking pictures in general, then I'll invest in one of those more expensive cameras with gigantic zoom lens. So then if I ever go to like the safari, I can capture animals roaming in the safari. But that's just my dream filming experience.
Well, that's a wonderful dream to have. And when you're ready to mobilize, I suggest going to Turner Falls in Oklahoma with Anita Manawis. She'll be able to show you around. Thank you for that practical skill, Mylene.
Thank you.
Let's move on to Imelin. Imelin, what practical skill do you wish you had?
Well, Alan, the practical skill that I would love to learn is anything about cars. I want to be able to be a mechanic of my own car. So when I'm driving on my own and my car fails on me, I would know what to do with changing the tire, or if to push a car or whatever. Well, but then the practical skill, I think, is useful for me since high school is my typing speed. I was one of those who had the great fortune, or misfortune, however you look at it, to have started typing on actual typewriter. Most kids today most likely haven't seen or experienced typing on a typewriter. Well, because with it, you can't afford to make any mistake. Well, so you're forced to learn how to type properly, accurately. So when we jumped to computers, I was surprised at how fast I was with typing. Since then, this helped me breeze through all my paperworks, from case studies, research papers. If you want me to type your thesis proposal or master's, I can help you with that too. Alan.
Now, Imelin, I know how old I am. I'm pretty old. I too, going through the school system, had to learn how to type using a typewriter, not an electric one. A real hard, like break your fingers typewriter. So you're a pretty fast typist right now. Can you just put on the screen your fingers? Do you type with long fingernails, or are they pretty short?
I can do it with long fingernails for the life.
Okay.
It has to be, yes. That's why I always have my fingernails cut short, and yes.
Well, if I ever go for my doctorate, I'll certainly ask you for help. Now, going back to what you were speaking about being able to maintain your own car.
Yes.
A lot of cars these days, I mean, they're moving further and further away from, I'll just say, mechanical parts. Everything's computerized. Everything is just, you open it and you're like, unless you have a degree in computer sciences, you won't know what to do. What kind of cars are you talking about? Are you talking about more like the ones that have like a mechanical engine, or the ones that are completely serviced only by computers?
Well, just my car, because I think last few weeks ago I popped two of my tires at the same time. two tires. So I was like in a daze or in a haze on what to do. So I would want to have an idea on what to do if the next time I pop all of them at the same time. I think I would want to learn how to do it too, Alan.
I totally understand, Imelin. Just, try your best not to be involved in high-speed chases anymore, and your tires will be fine. Thank you. Thank you, Imelin. Now let's move on to Anna. Anna, what practical skill do you wish you had?
Hi, Alan. I wish that I could play an instrument. any instrument, either piano or violin. I think it'd be helpful. I like listening to, to music to relax. And my daughter plays the ukulele, and one of my sons play a guitar. So I think it would be a nice thing for us to, to take up bonding. If I was able to play an instrument. But one skill that I'm told I have is a photographic memory, especially with numbers. Although I have to be honest, since smartphone, I've kind of slacked a little bit. But I used to be able to always really good at remembering phone numbers, because God forbid I'm lost somewhere and I don't have my phone. I'm gonna know who to call. Yeah, I'm gonna know who to call because I'll know the numbers. Right, Alan?
Well, Anna, all that means is that you are a walking smartphone, so there's nothing wrong with that. Well,
and before I let you go, I want to comment on Imelin. You can watch Imelin. You can watch YouTube, and you can type in anything there. That's how my husband and my son learn how to fix anything on their cars. Is they go on YouTube.
Thank you for that, Anna. I will check out the YouTube channels then. Thank you.
Well, I think our Eagle News viewers can tell that we have quite a talented pool of skilled people. And speaking of skilled people, we want to continue to thank the skilled healthcare workers, first responders, and essential workers with a round of applause. We appreciate you. That is today's Eagle News America. Thanks for joining us. I'm Alan Basoyahe. We live in interesting times.